Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm taking you on a very special journey, my experience at Le Wagon Bootcamp for the web development courses. So whether you are contemplating a career shift into tech or just curious about what it takes to become a full stack developer, this video is for you. My name is Marvin Morton, I'm 29 years old, born and raised in Martinique, and now I'm currently living in Canada, Montreal. I'm actually a SEO specialist turned full stack developer. Not only will I share my personal experience of the bootcamp, but also like an insider's view of Le Wagon, the day-to-day, the curriculums, the highs, the lows, and candid advice for anyone that is considering taking this path. So grab your favorite drinks and snacks, get comfortable, and let's get started. Why have I chosen to do Le Wagon Bootcamp? We should take a step back and think about why did I decide to become a full stack developer, right? Thanks to my entrepreneurial experiences from like e-commerce on Shopify to building blogs on WordPress or even co-founding Tourquip, a touristic marketplace with a childhood friend of mine, I've basically like always gravitated into the web industry, let's say, from doing a bit of like graphic design, SEA, SEO, marketing analytics, and so on. So I've kind of always had like an appetite for the web, but without touching the code. The start that broke the camel's back was actually in Montreal when I've joined the incubator called Santec that I've joined based on an idea that I had. I found a CTO and basically that CTO quit on me 1 week before the demo day, which is like the pitch in front of real investors. And at that point, I'm like, okay, no more. Now I want to have the control when I build stuff, when I'm launching products. So I say, okay, I'm going to be the technical co-founder. So that's how it started actually. And so to the question, why this bootcamp particularly? To be honest, it was quite a no-brainer because I've heard like great things from it from back when I was in Martinique, then in France, and I've been thinking about doing a bootcamp for years. So I've already did some research and I knew that if I had to choose a bootcamp, it will be that one because the hands-on learning proved itself because I've heard stories about alumni and so on. So it was really a no-brainer because its reputation speaks for itself. So now concretely, what is Le Wagon? Le Wagon is basically a coding bootcamp that aims at transforming beginners into full-fledged, full-stack developer in a matter of weeks. It's basically combining like a really complete curriculum with like on-hand experiences, learning, and projects. And those real-world experiences and the supportive community really help like propel the students into like the real tech industry. How long does it take? So it's 9 weeks, 9 intense weeks because it's like from 9 a.m. to 6 a.m. plus an extra week that you may get, which is called Career Week, which is a week where you'll focus on to learn how to build a CV, build a cover letter, how to pitch yourself, how to network, and so on and so on. Regarding the price, so it depends of your location, but for instance, in Canada, as of today, 2023, the price is of 12,500 Canadian dollars, which equal, I think, 10K US dollars, something like that, approximately. So it's an investment. Regarding its curriculum, it's great because it's really complete. You'll see the software fundamentals, everything related to backend and database. The language you'll see is called Ruby, which is a programming language known to be pretty close to the English language, which allows beginners to learn faster and have like a better comprehension of the software development world, if I can say. You also see a bit of front-end with the basics, HTML, CSS, vanilla JavaScript, and also designing tool called Figma, which allow you to build wireframes and mockups, basically like, let's say, the design skeleton of a website, right, or a web app. You also see a bit of DevOps, like development and operations. I don't want to get into detail, but let's say it's like the pipeline, the development workflow to push your code to production, meaning to push your code to the internet. So you'll see tools which are essentials actually, such as Git, GitHub, VS Code, etc., etc. Now let's take a look at the day during the bootcamp. So the bootcamp starts at 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. So let's say from 9 a.m. to 10:30, you'll focus on the lecture of the day, which is a theoretical lecture that will introduce you a new software development concept. And then from 10:30 to 12:30, you'll focus on challenges that are allowing you to delve into actually this new concept. The perks is that you'll have like real-time teaching support that will help you if you are basically blocked on an exercise. Then at 12:30, you'll go to lunch for 1 hour, come back at 1:30, let's say. And from 1:30 p.m. to 5 p.m., you'll keep diving into challenges because you have like a bunch of them to do each day, some that are like mandatory and some that are like optional if you get to it. And then after that, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., you have the final lecture of the day, which is either like a correction of the hardest exercise challenge that you've seen during the day, or a brand new challenge on the same topic of the day, but that you will be doing as a group with the whole batch. Or you can also have like another theoretical lecture that could like introduce the concept that you'll see the next morning. Let's talk about the pros and cons of Le Wagon Bootcamp. Starting with the pros. The first one could be that you are really going to have like a pretty complete curriculum, meaning you'll really see full stack development. And sometimes some other bootcamp focus more on like back-end or front-end, but this one is really complete. We're really going to see the front, the back, and the development workflow, which is really important actually to see, to have like a real holistic overview, I think, if you want to learn faster in the software development world. No matter if you're going for front-end at the end of the day or back-end, but it's really important to know the whole spectrum, if I can say. On top of that, it's really a hands-on learning experience, meaning you'll be really building real projects during that bootcamp. Of course, you'll have challenges, exercises, which is already pretty hands-on, right? But on top of that, you'll be really thinking about like real business case with projects, because you'll be basically be doing 3 projects during the 9 weeks, and the last one taking actually the 2 last weeks of the bootcamp. That last one is actually the best part of the bootcamp, in my opinion, because you'll be able to code a project from scratch based on the business ID, trying to solve a problem in groups of 3 to 5. So it will be pretty intense, but a really high level of learning, if I can say. Now, another perks will be, let's say, career support and community, because you have like a pretty huge community on Slack, more like than 17,000 students, I think. And the Slack channels are pretty active. Like you have channels about like jobs, about freelancing, about fixing problems of any kind, you know. So yeah, you can really relate. That community can really give you a boost and nudge you in the right direction if you are blocked or if you are looking for a job. You also have like a channel per city also, so it can help a lot to build a network when you are changing city or just starting a career into tech. So that's a real perks. Now regarding the cons, I'll start by saying maybe the intensity and the pace. Yeah, because it is intense, to be honest. From 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., especially if you're not from like the web industry or even the coding world, which you're not supposed to be, it is intense. You'll basically be brain dead every single night, and you might even be able to dream about coding, which is a good thing, which means you are assimilating the exercises and the concepts, right? So that's one con, if I can say, in the sense that it's intense. You need to be ready, you need to rest, you need to be focused on it and really invested in it. And speaking of investments, also the cost could be a con, because it's expensive. We're not gonna lie, 12K Canadian dollars is quite a lot. So that might be a con for some people. On top of that, one of the cons I think will be like the limited time on specific topics, such as JavaScript. You'll spend only 3 to 5 days on it, 3 to 4 days actually, which in my opinion is not enough, taking into consideration that like JavaScript is like the backbone of the web. So it's really important, especially if you end up becoming like a front-end developer. Nonetheless, to be honest, if you kind of master and assimilate well Ruby, it will be pretty easier for you to dive in JavaScript after the bootcamp. So it's quite okay, but it's just like one con that I like to highlight still. To add con, it still depends heavily on self-learning, if I can say, because at the end of the day, you'll be the one in front of your laptop coding and doing the exercises, right? So you still need to be heavily invested. Even if you have like real-time teaching support, it still relies on yourself and your motivation to try again the challenges, right? One last con is the fact that they do not have like a job guarantee policy. To me, it's not really a weakness. It's totally normal. They cannot like make false promise. You never know based on the market context and so on and so on. But I know some people might be bothered by that, so I think it's good to know. Now let's talk about the preparation for the bootcamps. And this is where I'll give you a bunch of tips that I would love to have known before doing the bootcamp. First, tips on preparing yourself. First of all, when you will enroll to the bootcamp, you'll have some prep works to do. That will take you between 20 hours to 40 hours, which are like lectures around the concept you're going to see during the bootcamp, without diving too much into it, but to have kind of a view of what you're going to see. And what I'd like to say is like, try to consider this prep work as a snowball effect, meaning the more prepared you come at the bootcamp, the better you'll be, and the more you learn, and the quicker you'll be able to assimilate new concept, right? Because it will kind of free some space in your brain when you learn new concept during the bootcamp. So take it seriously. And if you have time, actually, I would even like try to go deeper when it comes to Ruby, so which is the programming language you'll see, because yeah, the more you see about Ruby, the more you'll be able to learn, assimilate, and get on track faster during the bootcamp. So yeah, that will be tips number one. Second of all, like try to clear your agenda for the 9 weeks of the bootcamp. It's really important. Don't start like planning big party during the weekdays or like vacation days when you plan on like not coming to the bootcamp during a few days during those 9 weeks. Yeah, because it's like I said, it's intense and like it's an investment, right? You need to be fully committed to it. If not, it's not that you might fail, but it's more like you will not be taking full advantage of the bootcamp if you do that. And you'll have like some wagon to catch on after the bootcamp if you do not fully commit to it and miss some day. Because yeah, it's important to highlight the fact that every single day you'll see a new thing that will build the foundation of your software development house, right? So if you miss one brick, one fundamental brick, you're like losing time, right? The last tips I could add for preparing yourself for the bootcamp will be the following one. Basically, you'll be coding on your personal laptop. Personally, it's a MacBook, 13 inches MacBook, which is pretty small. And let's say you have like your code editor on one side of your screen, and which is where you'll be writing your code, and maybe the terminal, which is where you have some commands regarding how to push your code and so on, let's say. And on the other side, maybe you'll have the instruction of your exercises. So your screen is going to get pretty small, right? It's going to be tiny. The space you'll have to code will be pretty tiny. So it's getting confusing, and maybe you'll lose a lot of time because you decide to go between tabulation and so on. So it's not the best environment to code, if I can say. And especially when you're learning how to code, not to code alone, but like coding while learning, right? So after 1 week of the bootcamp, I was like, oh man, no more. Let me acquire a portable screen, which is what I've done. And I've acquired this following portable screen. So not that big, but it's really helpful when you have it on the side, you know? So I'm going to drop the link down below of the one that I have, which is like the Asus Zen screen, 15 inches. Feel free to buy that one or another one. I think it's $150, but it's really, really helpful. So if I have like one piece of advice, try to acquire that one because it will boost your productivity when you'll be learning during the bootcamp, right? All right, now let's take a look at the tips during the bootcamps. First of all, push your boundaries. What I mean by that is that every single day you'll have some exercises, and like I say, you'll have some exercises that are like mandatory and some other that are like optionals. And depending on the day, the mandatory one will be easier than the day before and so on. So maybe one day you'll finish the mandatory one like at 2 p.m. for instance. Don't start like chilling and relaxing because, oh, I've done the job for the day, the mandatory one are done, let me sleep on it, right? No, like push your boundaries. This is where you push your boundaries to try, at least to try the optional one. Because the optional one is indeed optional, but it's actually a concept that you're going to see during the bootcamp in the days to come, or concept that will be helpful during your software development career, right? So yeah, take advantage of the teachers that you have on your side to learn those concepts that might be a bit harder, instead of like chilling and be like, oh, I've done the job for the day, right? It's really important. Second of all, stay for the networking events. Indeed, you'll have at least, I think, one event per week. Either is going to be some conference with a speaker on a specific topic, or some testimonial by alumni, or I don't know, maybe just a network with your colleagues that are doing the bootcamp. But you need to stay for it. Not only because it's going to be fun, but also because actually your colleagues, your coworkers, the people that are doing the bootcamp at the same time as you might be actually the ones that are going to recommend you in the job tomorrow, you know? And this is a true story. Like in my batch, we were like 17, and out of the 17, at least 4 of us got a job thanks to another colleague that was doing the bootcamp. I am actually the living proof of that. The job that I have currently is actually thanks to someone I've met during the bootcamp that recommended me to his company. So yeah, really like those colleagues, those friends or acquaintance might be the nudge that you'll need to find your first job or second job or third job, you know? So don't sleep on that and really stay for the networking events, because one thing as I have learned along the way, the network might even count more than the skills, you know? So yeah, really take that into consideration. Now the tips post bootcamps. Congratulations, you've done the bootcamp, you've done with that, you've learned a lot, you're ready to tackle the world and to find your first job, right? But actually, this is just the beginning, indeed. What I mean by that is you need to embrace continuous learning. Because basically consider that the bootcamp was like the foundation of the house. Now you need to build the house, basically. You need to build on top of that. So you really need to embrace continuous learning and dive deeper and really take full advantage of the momentum, the fact that you still have like the structure, you still have the brain habits of coding every single day to keep going. Don't stop coding right after the bootcamp. Try to maintain the high level of like coding every single day. Dive deeper. If you're more into front-end, take a look at what's like a front-end framework such as like Vue.js, React, Angular, whatsoever. If you are more into backend, dive deeper into backend. Try to build like, I don't know, tools like to-do list, whatsoever. But like, yeah, try to go deeper into that, because if you don't, like, your knowledge might die or like hibernate, if I can say, and it will be harder for you to get back on when you come back. I don't know if you plan on going for vacation or take like the 2 months break, you know, it's going to be harder to get back at it after those 2 to 3 months, right? And also one thing that could help is actually to create a routine, because like I said, during the bootcamp it's cool because you have the structure, you have that daily nudge, that peer pressure that makes you code every single day. But for some people, depending on your profile, personality, it might be harder to maintain that after the bootcamp, right? Because you're on your own and so on. So one trick for that is actually to create a routine. So one basic, if I can say, routine will be, for instance, from like, I don't know, 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., airplane mode, focus on coding. Either you go on platforms such as Code Wars, Lead Code, which are like technical tests, technical challenges that are usually in the interview process when you apply for a job, especially in tech. Or you can even like revisit the challenges of the bootcamp, you know, or even build a side project that will solve like a real life problem, for instance. Yeah, you got option, but basically this morning is really dedicated to coding. And let's say the afternoon from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. is more like professional development, so more relaxed. Start applying, build your CV, a cover letter, go to some networking events, train on your pitch, how to sell yourself, and so on and so on. And by the way, if you'd like some help around how to sell yourself, how to build your CV, cover letter, and so on, feel free to drop me an email. I'll be glad to help you out. Another tip is actually like to keep your expectation grounded and like stay resilient, because you need to understand that the job hunt is like a marathon, not a sprint. You really need to have patience. For instance, personally, I don't consider that I've tried before at least having sent 100 applications to job offers, basically. Because actually you need to be rejected before getting accepted. And this is how you learn how to present yourself, actually, how to sell yourself, how to optimize your CV and so on. So you really need to go through like some rejections to really get to it. I think it's really important. To give you some stats, I think on average, it takes from 3 months to 6 months for a bootcamper from Le Wagon to find a job. But don't stress yourself if you find a job a bit later than the usual whatsoever. You know, it also depends on the job market at the moment and so on and so on. But like, be patient. It's normal that it takes a few months to get one, right? Moreover, make sure you have kind of like a saving buffer of like 6 months of your usual monthly expense, to make sure that you have like set up the worst case scenario that it takes like 6 months to find a job whatsoever, which will relieve you and allow you not to be stressed during the bootcamp and after the bootcamp. So that was it for the tips, the global tips, if I can say. But I like to add like a side note for like people that might be already into tech. Maybe you're like a web designer, a webmaster, SEO specialist, like in digital marketing and so on. And you might be wondering if doing the bootcamp is like a good investment for you, or you could learn by yourself, right? And I was once in your shoes, so I would actually take the time to reply to the two following questions if you are in that situation. The first one around like self-discipline and drive. Are you like intrinsically motivated to learn how to code? And do you have like that self-discipline or stay focused and stay motivated over days, over time, over months? If the reply to that is no, then definitely Le Wagon is a great investment to learn how to code. It might actually be like the accelerator you need to really code for real, right? Because I know some people that have tried to learn how to code on and off for like years and never get to really be a developer because of that, because they lack that structure on how to really become a real full stack developer and not only just playing with HTML or CSS, which will be the job of an integrator, right? The second question is around financial consideration. Will the Wagon put like undue financial strain on you? If not, it could really be a worthy investment because basically, on my hands, I could definitely have learned how to code on myself. I was determined, motivated, and I was sure that I would be able to do it at one point. That I had the self-discipline to do it. But the thing is, I was like, I'm sure I'm going to take at least 8 months to 1 year to learn what I would learn at Le Wagon in 2 months. So I was like, okay, I have a bit of saving. Okay, it's a no-brainer. Let's go for it. It's an investment. I take it as like an investment into me, into my personal skills. So I said, let's go. So yeah, if you have a bit of saving, you don't really know how to do with it, or maybe the best thing to do with it is to invest in yourself, this might be the investment you should be doing. Now to conclude, my experience at Le Wagon Bootcamp has been really transformative, and it shaped me as a real full stack developer. And I've been able to quickly find a job as a full stack developer, then as a web developer, and so on and so on. So would I recommend Le Wagon? Without a doubt. If you're like on the fence about it, take the leap. Of course, it's like a really huge investment of money, of time, of resources, but what you'll get in return in terms of skills, connections, personal growth is enormous. So go for it. Alright guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for more like tech insights around web development, SEO, business, side projects, like digital side projects. And yeah, keep coding, keep exploring, and above all, keep learning. Peace.